A drizzly Sunday morning here in Inglewood, Colorado, but that didn't stop the fans from making their way into the UC Health Training Center as we head into day 8. And it's that point of camp where it's lingering a little bit. Today, though, coaches are spicing it up with a scrimmage, and we'll see 1s versus 1s and 2s versus 2s. Hello, and thank you for joining us for Broncos Camp Live, powered by Ford. I'm Phil Milani alongside Matt Boyer, and very pleased to be joined by the Athletics' Nikki Javala. Nikki, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
It's raining a little bit, so I hope that you can handle it.
Hopefully I won't melt.
We're about a week through camp here. What have been your initial thoughts of the Broncos so far?
I think the biggest thing is the offense. It just looks so much different than what we've seen the past 2 seasons. Just the consistency and having Case Keenum back there. His accuracy is the big thing, and you can kind of see the trickle effect throughout the offense. His ability to find his receivers, both veterans and rookies alike. The run game, they're young, but they're talented, and you can see that kind of coming alive. I'm still curious to see how the offensive line will look today in the scrimmage to really get a sense of, if they're gelled, if they're more improved. It's still early, but that's one of the things I'll be looking for. So I think the offense, just the way they've played, it's been fun to watch.
Do you sense a change in the way that they respond to Case? Maybe that it wasn't there last year, as far as just, like when they see him at the line, it's like, okay, now it's time to ready. Now it's really ready to go.
Oh, absolutely. You can see that trust. He has that leadership, and people describe leadership differently, and it's certainly different for every player that's out there, but you can see the difference. I mean, they're more consistent, more cohesive. So I think his arrival has made a huge difference. And I think when he came in, people thought, well, maybe he could be the bridge to the future, whoever that future quarterback may be. But, now I see him as, this could be it. This could be their answer to, what they've been looking for the past couple of years at quarterback.
Well, in the NFL today, you have to have a solid quarterback there for your team to have a lot of success. So hopefully for the Broncos, that will be the case with Case Keenum. With the case for Case Keenum.
We're going to be doing that all year. We're going to be doing that all year.
And make sure to check out DenverBroncos.com later on today, because Case Keenum is actually mic'd up for today's scrimmage, so that should be a good piece of content there. Nikki, you mentioned the offense. What about on the defensive side of the ball? A lot of concerns with Aqib Talib now in L.A. Sure. What about depth at the cornerback position?
I think right now it is a concern because Tremaine Brock has been dealing with a hamstring injury. He's missed some time. To me, the third cornerback spot, and as the coaches have said, too, that is a starting position. That's a position that Bradley Roby has had unlocked for the last 4 years. And it's been pretty seamless when you went from Aqib and Chris down to Roby. It looks like Brock will be that guy when he's healthy. But, behind him, there's not much depth. And if it's not that guy, who is it? Brendan Langley still looks a little bit raw out there. Isaac Yedem, the rookie, still young, a bit inexperienced. There's C.J. Smith, a waiver. He was claimed off waivers. So it's kind of a relatively inexperienced group behind Tremaine Brock. So there is a question, and that's a key piece of their defense, that spot.
You mentioned Chris Harris Jr. We haven't talked a lot about. He hasn't gotten a lot of ink, got a lot of pub. But is it hard to believe that this guy's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, but still quietly going about his business at such a high level?
He's just so consistent. He's so smart. I mean, I spent a couple days down in Dallas with him, Roby, and then Will Parks and Brendan Langley came down a couple days later. But he works so hard. I mean, it's every day with him. And everybody you talk to who has worked with him, who has trained with him, who has played with him, they'll tell you the same thing. He's one of the smartest players they've ever worked with or coached. And you can see it out there. Every year he comes in, and it's kind of the same Chris Harris every single year.
I know you had a chance to talk with Chris Harris Jr. as well as Von Miller about playing with Brian Dawkins. Of course, last night was the enshrinement ceremony in Canton, Ohio. What did those guys, particularly Von, say about the presence that Dawkins had in the locker room?
Well, for both of those guys, they both said Brian was one of their biggest mentors. He was that veteran presence when they were early into their careers. For Chris, it was maybe one of his 2 biggest mentors on the team with Champ Bailey. And they showed the way, how to be a pro, how to study, how to take care of your body. That was one of the big things Chris stressed about Dawkins, is how much time and effort he put into maintaining his body so he could play every single day. So they both had high praise for him, and they were excited to see their guy go into the Hall of Fame last night.
Of course, Dawkins typically considered an Eagle, but his 3 years here, he made 2 Pro Bowls. Sure. I mean, what do you feel like his impact was here?
I still think he was one of the most beloved guys here. His tenure was short, but so have a lot of guys who have been great Broncos. DeMarcus Ware didn't have a particularly long tenure, but you can see the impact he's had on this team. So I think he has that lasting impact. Guys remember him. Guys remember what he meant to this team, what they taught him, or he taught them. So he's definitely an Eagle first, I would say, just because of how much time he's spent with that franchise. And I don't think there's any Eagle that's close to being as beloved as he is, perhaps. But certainly his time as a Bronco was just as important and impactful here.
Yeah, last night in Canton, all Eagles jerseys. I counted 4 Broncos number 20 jerseys. so the Broncos, Dawkins faithful.
A little
were
represented.
Out.
That's not bad.
Exactly. Nikki, thank you so much for joining
Thanks
us
for
a little bit
having me.
this morning. Make sure to read Nikki Jobvala on theathletic.com. And like I mentioned, we were in Canton, and Brian Dawkins had a message for Broncos country.
Thank you. And Denver, hey, thank you for my time there. I was remiss to say that up there, but I want to thank you for my time there. That was just not a time that I just came there just to have a last couple of years. You guys welcomed me there, and I thank you so much for that. I thank you for welcoming me there, and I enjoyed there. I spent 8 extra years there, even after I retired. So I thank you for that city. It's blessed me tremendously, and thank you, Denver Broncos fans. Thank you, Mr. Bolin. I didn't get a chance to mention that. I was remiss in saying that. I was all over the place with my emotions, but I want to make sure I thank you as well and the whole organization. Thank you.
Brian Dawkins thanking the Broncos country and also Mr. B for being out there, for the opportunity that he gave him toward the end of his career. And a pretty cool moment for Brian Dawkins there as you see Vance Joseph getting the crowd pumped up a little bit here as the Broncos go through the individual drills right now, but ahead of today's scrimmage a little bit later. And let's check out some as we bring on Steve Atwater.
You guys look tired. How are you guys doing today?
We're good, man. We're back at 11:30.
Back.
We Canton back. We got plenty of sleep last night. We're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, Steve had the only interview with Brian Dawkins after his speech. So
that's what happens when you're Steve.
That's what happens when you're a Broncos Ring of Famer.
It's because Brian Dawkins, really has a special place in his heart for the Denver Broncos, and he decided to allow us to interview him, and we were definitely happy to do that.
And Brian Dawkins, of course, getting into the Hall of Fame here. Let's check out the credentials of another Broncos big-time safety. That's Steve Atwater, big reason why he got that interview. Some of his notable numbers here, 8 Pro Bowl selections, right, Steve?
Yeah.
2 first-team All-Pros.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
No.
You weren't Defensive Rookie?
No, Derek Thomas
as a rookie, I'm sorry. As a rookie, yeah.
Derek Thomas was.
Somebody got to check your bio. 2 times Super
the
Bowl
Broncos
champion.
defensive rookie.
Oh, okay.
The Broncos defensive rookie.
Hey, we'll give it to you, Steve. We can put that in your bio. We could just retroactively do that.
24 interceptions.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it should have been more, but
we'll see.
Another story.
Oh, come on.
Do you think there are any Broncos Hall of Famers that are out there right now?
No.
Future ones?
We got one for sure.
Who's that?
58?
Von
58?
Miller.
There you go. There you
Von
go.
Miller. Yeah, what do you think? You think that not just yet, but he's on that path, you think, Steve?
Oh, absolutely on the path. And I would say the only thing that would keep Von Miller from getting into the Hall of Fame would be some type of, just devastating injury, which, we don't wish that on anyone. But I would venture to imagine that even with his stats to this day, that it's going to be a push for him to get in there regardless.
Yeah, he's been the best player at his position for a few seasons at least. That's one of the big criteria looking at the Hall of Fame.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned with Steve was the consistency. Vaughn's got that consistency too. I think that when you look at the level that he's played at, especially even from his rookie year, I mean, you could kind of see flashes, and then goes through the injury in 2013, and now in the prime of his career, I think it's been very impressive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There hasn't been an edge rusher that's been more dominant over the same period of time than Von Miller has been.
A little bit early, but another guy who might be following in Von Miller's footsteps, Bradley Chubb.
No, that's really early.
What do you
That
thought
is
of the
really
camp?
early.
Not talking Hall of Fame or anything, but what have you thought of his camp so far?
Well, I think he's had a solid camp. I think he's soaking up all the knowledge that Von Miller and Shane Ray and those guys have given to him, and he's just continuing to improve. And I think the fans are going to be super excited once the game starts and he can actually get to the quarterback and, get the quarterbacks on the ground because, again, a lot of times out here in practice, you'll tag off on the quarterback and the quarterback still throws the ball as though he wasn't sacked. So we'll get a chance to see it more once the live action starts.
Those defensive guys are always going to back their own. So when you see the defensive line out there, and Steve, when you say you get a great sense of it, though, Steve. All jokes aside, from the offensive linemen on this team, they have been very high in their praise. Jared Valdir, Garrett Bowles, both have gone out of their way to praise Bradley Chubb and his, the ability to bend, the ability to get down, to get off the line of scrimmage. I think all of those tools are going to help him early on in his career and maybe give him a leg up on the competition when it comes to his first season.
Oh, I definitely think so. And those guys recognize great players, especially Jared Valdir. He's played against a ton of great players. Last year, of course, Garrett Bowles got a chance to see the great edge rushers just in the AFC West. So they know good edge rushers when they see them. They know the characteristics in terms of, like I say, that bend, that quickness. And also, man, he has the size to do just about what he wants to do.
Of course, we'll be getting a look at him against the Vikings next Saturday for the preseason opener. But that means that we're also going to get our first depth chart of the offseason or heading into the preseason here. Do you think that Chubb will be ahead of Shane Ray or not?
I would say no, but it's so hard to tell before that. It's so hard to gauge it out when he hasn't even played a real NFL snap yet.
Yeah, and I doubt that he would, especially this early in camp. But it's certainly a possibility. We have no say-so in that. But I would say, regardless of if he's named the starter or not, he's going to see significant playing time.
You see Shane Ray warming up there. He's got that cast on. He says he's not feeling any limitations.
Man, that is definitely a blessing for him to come back and not have the surgery and then not have any issues from it, because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, man, I hope he actually talked to the coaches and the coaches knew about it. But fortunately, everybody was on the same page, and he hasn't had any ill effects from it. So hopefully he'll continue to make it through this camp without any injuries.
We had the opportunity to drive in with Shane Ray yesterday, said that his wrist feeling no pain, but in year 4, it's his routine that's kind of gotten him to where he is right now, and that starts with the tunes in his car.
For me, because it's early in the morning, really I just turn some music on. Just kind of get my mind right for the day. Some mornings I feel different though. I might play something a little bit more up-tempo, or I may play something a little bit more chill. For today, let's see, I'm probably gonna play new Travis Scott, Astro World. So you can just put on a nice little smooth vibe, you know what I'm saying? Just get your mind right. If I'm feeling like a little sluggish or something like that, I might get like a cup of coffee, just because, you don't want to be in meetings dozing off and you want to be alert. So if I feel like I'm tired or sluggish like that, I'll definitely get me like an espresso or something. But that's rare. I don't drink coffee all the time, but today might be one of those days. I'm kind of tired. As a rookie, you kind of hear about it, but you don't know like what it's like to be in like an NFL camp, being there all day. I think about how Vaughn and DeMarcus, treated me. They were always, there ready to answer any type of questions, or just, sometimes guys just need somebody to talk to or chill with, and I feel like I'm open for that. Hey, what's going on? Good morning. Hey, Broncos country. Thanks for riding with me to work. I'll see you guys at camp.
To see the full version, including Shane Ray's thoughts on his morning coffee, head to denverbroncos.com or the denverbroncos.com YouTube page. There we see the defensive line getting ready. Interestingly enough, Adam Gotsis not in pads. He is off to the side getting some work done. So an interesting note for the defensive line, but hopefully it doesn't look serious. We'll get some more information on that from Vance Joseph after practice.
Yeah, interesting to find out what's going on there with Gotsis. Morning coffee, huh?
Yeah, you got to watch, man. That's
check that out.
That's the deep tease for the website. But yeah, he had an interesting take on coffee and how it gets him through the meetings and how important it is during camp. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, I have to check that out. We bring in Andrew Mason to the set now of Orange and Blue 760, a Broncos insider. Mace, one guy that Shane Ray has to go up against consistently is Garrett Bowles. What have you seen from Bowles heading into his second season?
Better footwork. I think that's the biggest thing, and everything starts with the footwork, because if he's getting his feet in the right spot, he's getting in the right position. That means he's not beaten as often. That means he's not reaching out and grabbing and holding as often. And that was the big problem for Garrett Bowles last year. Too many holding penalties. I think what he's done technically in advancing from year 1 to year 2, that's going to help him, and he won't be plagued by those same mistakes that can be drive-killing mistakes for an entire offense.
Do you think part of it also is knowing, hey, I've done my part on the play, now I can back off? Because that was a problem last year, is it continuing to play for too long.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us heard the remarks about, protecting my quarterback as if it was my wife, and I feel like, he said a lot of things that he felt like he needed to live up to, and I don't know if he came in pretty raw last year. I definitely see a lot of improvement this year, as you mentioned. I think that he's not going to try and take too much on. I think he's going to get some help over there with Ron Leary also. I think he's going to be in good shape.
At times, I think Garrett Bowles didn't know what he didn't know last year. And that's true for a lot of rookies. And now I think you see a maturation. You see him understanding, okay, there are things that I don't know, that I'm still learning about this game. What do I have to do to learn them? What do I have to do to get better? And I know he's even kind of imparting his advice on some of the rookies coming in. Hey, these are some missteps that I made. Don't repeat them. Here's how you avoid those missteps in your first year.
If you get solid play from that left tackle position, that's going to help the entire offensive line. One guy who doesn't need that rookie season to make an impact right away, Cortland Sutton has been the star of camp so far.
They don't sell 14 jerseys in the gift shop, in the team store yet, but they're probably going to have to stock a couple here by the end of camp. Play after play after play. We saw the Broncos yesterday, Mace. The Broncos in their backed up end zone type package. Case Keenum going over the top to Cortland Sutton, another amazing play. I mean, it just seems like day after day after day, this guy makes a play that just shakes your head and go, wow, this guy's a rookie?
Yeah, and these plays are happening because of a perfect blend of athleticism and the mental side, the ability to adjust to the ball, to know where the ball is going to go, and then put yourself in position. That's more mental than physical. So he's able to take the physical advantages he has, that he can leap over guys, that he also, with that basketball background, of course, playing for Larry Brown at SMU, can box out. He was a 6'4" power forward in practice at SMU, played bigger than his size. He's playing bigger than his size out here, but also knowing how the quarterback throws the ball, knowing where it might go, adjusting, making sure you're in the right position. And he does not look like a rookie in any way, shape, or form, guys. He looks like a seasoned veteran, and he's going to be an awful lot of trouble for number 3 corners to cover.
It was really interesting. Vance Joseph said he was in Houston when DeAndre Hopkins was a rookie. He said that he sees a lot of similarities between Hopkins and Cortland Sutton. Another interesting thing that Vance Joseph said yesterday was that, hey, we haven't seen Von Miller exploding and making all these big plays. That's because Vance said Vaughn has to take it down a couple of notches, otherwise he would wreck practice.
That's not a bad thing to hear. I mean, if you want the best out of Von Miller, you don't want him just totally tearing apart what these offensive linemen are trying to build upon. But I think that especially that pass rush academy, or that pass rush summit that Vaughn held this summer, is definitely looking like it's paid dividends so far.
Have you ever heard a coach say something like that, though? You see Vance Joseph there said that Vaughn would wreck practice.
No, and in fact,
he's wrecking some moves right there. Check that out.
I recall about a decade ago watching 2 All-Pros, Jordan Gross at offensive tackle, Julius Peppers at edge rusher for Carolina, going against each other in practice. They kind of made each other better, and they weren't held back by John Fox, who was the coach there. But I think part of it is Von Miller. With all respect to Julius Peppers, Von Miller is probably on another level than even Peppers was a decade ago. It's testament to what kind of unique talent he is, and as you guys mentioned, I think he's basically on a path that's going to get him to the Hall of Fame someday.
Well, Vance Joseph was at the box yesterday first, and then we had a chance to ask Von Miller what he thought of the head coach's comments.
Thanks, Coach VJ, for those kind words, but I just come to practice to play, man, to get better. This is my 8th year, so this is my 8th time around, seeing some of this stuff. This is my 8th time in training camp where you have a break or you have a day off, and then you come back the next day, and the coach is on you like, no, come on, we're slow before we even practice. So this is like, this is my 8th time around, and I've seen it a couple of times. And, with saying that, I'm grateful I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I've gotten. I'm grateful, for this 8th year in the league, and I just try to keep pushing. I just try to keep it going.
Von Miller just doing his thing, his 8th training camp. He knows the routine by now. We're winding down the show here. One thing I wanted to touch on back to the Brian Dawkins thing. Brian Dawkins never won a Super Bowl. Would you rather have a Super Bowl championship or be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I would say Hall of Fame, just personal view. I think there's less members in the Hall of Fame than there are Super Bowl champions. I think that although a Super Bowl is a team award, a Hall of Fame Gold Jacket is also a team award. There's a lot of people that get you to that point.
Yeah, it's the team that goes. It's your life team that makes you a Hall of Famer. Going back to those first coaches you had in Pee Wee, Pop Warner football, I would say the Hall of Fame in part because it's a more rare distinction. Also, the Super Bowl, a lot of it is beyond your control. You can be a great player on a team that's mostly lousy. I grew up, loving Leroy Selman, Tampa Bay Buccaneer legend down there. Mace. And in my opinion, the greatest 3-4 defensive end in NFL history until J.J. Watt came along. Mm-hmm. He's a Hall of Famer, but the thing is, you know what? The team wasn't very good. He got to a championship game once, and that was it. But he still was a great player, and I was glad that was recognized. He couldn't do anything about the fact the team was lousy around him, so Hall of Fame. All
right, 2 Hall of Fame answers right there. I'm not sure where I stand.
Come on.
Maybe a Super Bowl just because you'll have those memories about being at the top of your game forever. All right, that's going to do it for us. Our thanks to Andrew Mason for hopping on. Be sure to check out Orange and Blue 760 as you get a chance to check out all the fans out here on the berm. Thanks to Steve Atwater and Nikki Jobvala earlier. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Matt Boyer. I'm Phil Milani. This has been Broncos Camp Live, powered by Ford.